Howdy ho. On this video I will build this outdoor bench, and I bought the plan for it from Mr. Tuba 4, or in this case Tuba 6 aka 731 Woodworks. The plan came in imperial measurements and I'm using metric, so I needed to convert the imperial to metric, but that was an easy thing to do. But I did face problems with the build, and those came from the fact that 2x6 is not the same in US and in Finland. I didn't know this when I started the build. More on this later. So I started the project by milling the lumber in my planer, and I've never built anything following this kind of plan, so I decided to cut everything before starting with the build. That was a mistake, mainly due to the fact that I learned later about the difference between 2x6 in Finland and in US. Having said that, anyone working on a metric system or with slightly different measurements on 2x6s, you can still follow this plan and build the bench. I would just recommend to cut the pieces as you build and to double check the measurements to make them correct with first cut. This project required a lot of pocket holes, which are easy to do if you have support tool for it. I'm using Craig's pocket hole jig and it works great. Most of the joints in this build are done with pocket holes and glue. I'm using Tight Bond 3 because it's rated for outdoor use as well. One thing I like about this plan is that the build is done in modules, so there are a lot of individual elements to build, and later in the project it's an easy thing to join them together. So following the plan was actually very easy, and what I'm doing first is building the bigger bench section or the frame for it. After the bigger module is ready, it's time to build the smaller one, and it is using exactly the same design and the same joinery like everything else on this plan, which makes it very easy to build and follow. And then also building the legs, which also have the handrest on them. And obviously you don't need to follow the plan exactly. For example, when building these legs / armrests, you can modify the height where you want the seating to happen. So that's why I'm doing some measurements to make sure that it will fit into where I want it to go. But here I got puzzled. I had followed the plan, and when I was doing dry fitting, if you check the upper part, it doesn't really fit, or you see the gap on the right hand corner, and I was really puzzled what's happening. And the problem was not with the plan is correct. So the problem was actually that Finland and US have different size for 2x6. So while continuing the build, I was kind of thinking, how will I fix that problem that's now on 2 pieces of the project. But first I had some other problems to fix, so I did a small measuring mistake, and I needed to use flush trim bit to get the edge flush with the main piece, and nothing bad. It was easy to sand after this one. And this construction grade 2x6 is very soft, so sanding it didn't take very long, very easy to do. But now was the time I needed to fix the problem caused by different sizes in our 2x6s, and I applied a very simple fix. So I just cut additional piece and glued it in, and while gluing I also used some sawdust to hide the glue line a bit, and eventually once I applied the finish, it's barely noticeable in the end product. So the fix actually was simple and easy and worked very well. And obviously, as there are 2 of these pieces on the product, I had 2 of the same issues to fix, so I applied the same fix for the other one as well. Moving on, then it was time to cut the back support or the backrest pieces, and I'm using a 10-degree angle for it as instructed in the plan. I only measured the first piece, and then I cut all the others using that one as a template to make sure that they are all exactly the same size. And then added pocket holes again. The pieces next to the armrests were glued and screwed in, and the ones in middle used the pocket holes and glue. I decided for extra support to screw them from bottom as well. That's not on the video, so now they are very, very strongly in place. Attaching the backrest was again a simple process, just using a piece of 2x6 as a spacer, and then using the pocket holes and glue to make everything fit nicely. Sanding is a great way to hide small imperfections here and there, and I sanded first with 80 grit and then with 120 grit as instructed by Matt, and I think it worked great for this one. It is outdoor furniture after all. I have a small shop and this thing is actually very big, so I had a bit of an issue with the camera angles, but I did my best. Then after attaching these final pieces, I just glued and screwed them in. This will naturally be outdoors, and I was thinking that maybe the holes are a bit vulnerable to moisture, so I filled all the screw holes with sawdust and wood glue. No idea if this will actually work, but at least after a bit of sanding they almost disappeared, and especially after the finish it's pretty much impossible to even see these holes anymore. I think this way to attach them was a slight deviation from the plan, so it was probably made correctly in the plan and the video, so I do recommend watching that one instead of following my way. But in this clip you can see how quickly they disappeared, so I think it was a easy fix and no harm done. Then the build was pretty much complete. It was a quick and easy one. Now only one thing left to be done, finishing it, and I'm using woodcare.guide garden furniture oil, and I was thinking between the brown and the gray, and I ended up with the gray. It had a more interesting color in my opinion, and I have never applied this kind of finish to outdoor furniture. I've never actually built any outdoor furniture, so I'm probably doing a million things wrong. But who reads instructions, right? So I just applied the stuff very generously and then wiped off the excess after about 1 hour. And on the next day I reapplied to some parts that didn't look very good yet, and then I was done. Nice and easy finish to use. Hopefully it will last in the Finnish weather, but I believe it will. So in the instructions the full piece was already glued and screwed in together. I decided not to do it because I have a small truck and I needed some way to actually get this to my house. So I'm probably the worst person in the world using straps, so that's why I'm very happy that there's a product called Quick Loader which makes my life a lot easier. So I would say that's a strap for dummies and I like it. You can see me using it here. So once I got the pieces to my back porch, then I just screwed them in together. I didn't use glue here, I just used the screws. I think it will be strong enough with these alone. So there it is, it's ready and I'm actually very happy with it. And I want to thank 731 Woodwork for this plan. Obviously I did pay for it with my own money, so it's not sponsored, but very nice to get these plans which are beginner friendly. And if you watch the original video, there's something magical happening with this, so you see the pillows just appearing on it, and the same thing happened with mine as well. But if you watch the video all the way here, I want to thank you, and please subscribe. I do have more builds coming up very soon.